Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I've got a few bits that I need to do today and I thought I would give you guys an update on my plants that I currently have in semi-hydro, just because those are ones that are due to be topped up. So I thought it'd be good to check in and see how they're doing after being in semi-hydro for, I think they've been in there for 9-10 months now, so nearly a year. And these are the first plants that I ever popped into semi-hydro as a substrate to try. All of them are in self-watering pots, and the pond that they're in is Soil Ninja's fine semi-hydro. There are a couple that I think later on down the line I might swap into their coarse semi-hydro, but we'll get onto that when we get to those plants. Before we do get into the video though, if you guys are new here, hi, my name's Amy and this is my jungle. I create content to share my hobby as well as document my houseplant journey. If you do enjoy the content, please don't forget to give it a like as well as subscribe to the channel for more planty content. If you're not new here, thank you again for joining me. I really do appreciate having you here. So like I said at the start of the video, I am going to be focusing on my plants that are currently being grown in semi-hydro or semi-hydroponically in self-watering pots. The plants that I am currently growing in this manner are all of my sort of Calathea, Maranta and the like, as well as my Alocasia. So with the Alocasia, they're the ones that I think at some point I am going to transfer into the coarse semi-hydro just to give their roots a little bit more breathing space. But what I'll do, I'll bring you guys in a bit closer and then I will talk you through what I'm going to be doing with the plants today. So the first thing that I am going to do is add fertilizer into the water that I'm going to be using for the semi-hydro plants. I said in an earlier video that I have been using this Formulex, which I just got off of Amazon. Really happy with it so far. Again, not been using it for enough time to be able to give a proper update on how I'm finding it with my plants, but so far so good. This one, it does say in terms of hydroponics that you need to dilute 10 ml in with each litre of water. So this is a 2 litre watering can, so it does need 20 ml in total. I'm not very good at eyeballing how much I need, so I like to put it into a little shot glass and use my syringe to measure out exactly how much I need. And what I usually do is I'll take it to 10 and then add a bit more to take it up the rest of the way. I'm running low on this. I'm definitely going to have to place another order soon because, like I say, I've been quite pleased with the results that I've seen so far, even though it has only been like a couple of months since I started using it. Spring will be the real test as to how the plants then do with this fertilizer on board. Okay, so that's all made up. So let's talk about the Alocasia first. So this is my Alocasia amazonica, and let's say it has settled very well into semi-hydro. It has given me a few new leaves and it is currently in the process of pushing one out just here. Like I say, seems to have settled in quite well, and I think it is one that eventually I will look at moving into the more coarse semi-hydro. I've also got my Alocasia Ninja, which was, I believe, one of the first Alocasia that I got, and it has just recently given me this new leaf. Could be a coincidence, but this was pretty much as soon as I switched fertilizers, it started pushing this one out. These were the two that it had given me before. But at the same time, this plant had also changed location, so it went onto a shelf with grow lights. So I feel like there's a lot of factors that have contributed to, this growth. But it has also got another 2 leaves just here that it is in the process of putting out. I think I am going to look to get some acrylic stakes so that we can look to hold these leaves up a bit more so they all are a bit more uniform. But yeah, I'm really enjoying watching this one grow. And like I say, from this size up to this one, I'm really, really pleased with how this one's doing. Again, like I say, the Alocasia are ones that I am potentially looking at moving into the more coarse semi-hydro substrate. So the coarse pond by Soil Ninja. I found that coupled with the self-watering pots has been a game changer for my Alocasia. Like I say, I've not been able to keep them alive for very long when they are in soil. So I definitely think, for me anyway, this is definitely the way forwards. These self-watering pots, I will pop a link down below. They're just from Amazon. I've got a couple of different sizes, but what I really like is that you've got this little reservoir here, so you can actually see. I mean, this one is, I can feel that there's water in there, but it is very low. So when I top it up, I'll be able to see the water level rise, and then I know that as it lowers, when I need to then look at topping this one up. I suppose we could have a look to see if we have got any roots coming out as well. No, none on the Amazonica. No roots coming out on that one, so that's fine at the moment. I've then got my Silver Dragon. Again, another one that is currently pushing out a new leaf here. I think this is the only leaf it's given me since it's been in my collection. So, I'm quite excited to see what this one ends up looking like going forwards. But again, another one that has been doing really well since, one, moving under grow lights, and two, being moved into a self-watering pot with the fine pond. And lastly, we have my Alocasia Dragon Scale. Now, this has just pushed out this new leaf for me. Again, could be coincidence, but moved under lights, changed fertilizer, and yeah, seems to be loving its life at the moment. So this is sort of, I'm not sure if it's on its way out, or it just, yeah, this leaf just doesn't seem to be doing too much. I'm not quite at the point that I want to cut it off yet. So at the moment it can just stay that. But again, another one, this one, I definitely do want to get a stake in just to hold them a bit more uniform so they're not as sprawly. But yeah, seems to be liking the semi-hydro life. I am contemplating, when I eventually do put my cabinet together, popping my Alocasia in there to see how they do, just because they're not going to fit on the shelf they're on much longer if they do continue to get taller. Like I say, since being under that grow light, they're not as leggy. So, that may have solved the issue anyway, but I'm debating on whether or not to have that as an Alocasia cabinet, or keeping these ones out in normal room humidity, as they seem to be doing okay at the moment. I mean, I do have an additional spot where they could go if I move some of my moss poles off of the lower shelf, and then I can just look to put risers or something on. But yeah, at the moment, really happy with how these guys are doing since moving them into pond. And yeah, so now I'm just going to top up their reservoirs. So depending on when it is, occasionally I'll take them through into the bathroom and look at giving them a complete flush through, just so that we can wash away any of the dust that sometimes comes off of the substrate when it rubs together, and also to give the base of the pots a bit of a clean. That was done, I think, last month. So I am just going to water these guys through from the top and keep an eye on the reservoir so we can see when they are full. alocasia, I would say that the Alocasia Ninja is definitely my thirstiest alocasia. It's the one that I find that I'm topping up the reservoir a lot quicker than the others. And that is probably followed by my Silver Dragon. These two, I've not noticed them being as thirsty, but like I say, I do just make sure whenever I'm popping into the room to turn the lights on, that I'm having a look at their reservoirs and topping them up as and when needed. But yeah, I'll get these guys back into their normal positions, and then we'll move on to the Calathea and Maranta. So I've got the Calathea and Maranta out. I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. I'm going to just check their reservoirs, give them a top up if it's needed. As I mentioned previously, I think it might have been in my walkthrough video, the cats have taken to having a bit of a gnaw on some of the leaves, which, you know, I'd rather they didn't, but if they are going to chew any of the plants in my collection, I'd rather it be the ones that are non-toxic. So, you know, it is what it is. I have manoeuvred a few things in the room so they're not as easily accessible. And I haven't noticed any more damage since the last time. So fingers crossed, we've managed to sort it out so that they can't get to them and these can continue to grow into what they're supposed to look like. But yeah, when I first decided I was going to look at re-adding Calathea and Maranta into my collection, I did know I definitely wanted to grow them in pon or semi-hydroponically, just because it means that I've not got to be as consistent with my watering with them. I can let them drink their fill, top them up when they're needed, and it just makes them slightly less high maintenance for me. That was one thing that I did struggle with my previous Calathea. I'd find that when they were in soil, I'd let them dry out a little bit too much, and then, you know, they'd faint, they'd come back, they'd faint, they'd come back, and then it'd just get to the point where they'd faint and they were gone. So yeah, I think since having them in, since growing them semi-hydroponically, I have lost one Calathea. Other than that, touch wood, the rest have all been doing well. If I am worried at all, I do tend to take insurance cuttings and propagate them in water, just because if I'm planning on putting them back into semi-hydro, it doesn't make sense to have to grow roots in one substrate to transition them back into a water-based substrate. So yeah, that's sort of my method for propagating these guys. Again, I do want to add more into my collection. I love the colours, and the fact that, you know, I'll be sitting in here reading and I'll hear the leaves sort of closing up. The first few times I did hear it, it did make me jump. But you can actually hear them moving as they follow the light, so which I think is pretty cool. The majority of them, I mean, this one is in the process of popping out a new leaf, as is my lemon lime, which is just here. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, this one is growing hella rooty out the bottom. So probably one that I will have to look to upsize the pots soon. But at the moment seems to be doing okay. But these are my smaller Calathea and Maranta, so they're in the smaller pots, and I do have some larger ones behind me, which I'll pop up here once we've topped up the water on these ones. But like I say, since they have been in the semi-hydro growing in the self-watering pots, I haven't had any issues aside from cat casualties with them. So I'm just going to give them a quick top up. I've also noticed that the smaller ones don't tend to be as thirsty as my larger ones. So pop that down there. So again, these are all on one of my new shelves. They don't actually have a light directly above them because I know that, you know, in their natural habitat, they would be sort of creeping along the floor, sort of lower down. So I don't think they would appreciate having a grow light blasting them from above 24/7. So they sort of get filtered light down from the shelf above, which they seem to be enjoying. And do this last little one. So many leaves in the way, I can't actually see the reservoir. So that is all of the smaller ones. Moving on to the larger ones. Now, the main one that the cats have been chewing is the fascinator. Yeah, this one is the one that they definitely had a good go at, but I say I've managed to move it back a bit. So I mean, this is probably the worst one. They're actually just eaten half a leaf. But again, I have taken some cuttings of this that are rooting in water that I will look to pop back in to help fill it up a bit more or fill it out. But yeah, like I say, it doesn't seem to have upset it too much, the fact that it has been chewed on a little bit. And again, since going in, I think I got this one and pretty much washed off the roots, put it straight into pon and effed it. There was a couple of bits that did die back, but for the most part, it was absolutely fine. It took to growing in this method of growing so quickly. Like I say, the bits that died off, I did just go in and pull them out because we obviously don't want those bits rotting in the substrate. But yeah, aside from that, she has been doing really well. So I'll add some additional bits in to fill her out and keep her back from the cats. The next one, I think the last time I spoke about, I was a bit concerned because there was a bit, it just seemed to be going a bit crazy and it had been knocked over a couple of times, is my plain green Maranta. But as you can see, it is now pushing out a couple of bits of new growth. And we've again got some new growth coming in on the existing points here as well. Do always like to check just to make sure there's no pests on them. And we're doing all okay, but yeah, really pleased to see this one bouncing back. As I say, it's taken some time and I'm so glad this one was towards the back because I think if the cats had chewed on it, I don't think it would be here right now. So I'm glad that I had moved this one slightly further back on the shelf, in all honesty. But yeah, again, another one that I think I got it at the same time as the fascinator, and I pretty much did the same thing where I just stripped it back with all of the soil, washed the roots off, whacked it straight into semi-hydro, sort of like a sink or swim. And thankfully, it is doing okay. Okay. I don't know if you can tell, but I do like my Maranta. But this one is my variegated Maranta. Again, has pushed out another new shoot here. Unfortunately, the completely green, the completely white section that it did have has unfortunately died off. But that's okay. That was sort of more just to see how long it would last. I know with no chlorophyll, it does make it that bit more difficult for the plant to photosynthesize. So I'd rather it sacrifice that growth than go downhill. But again, another one that has taken really well. This one is really thirsty. I am topping this one up a lot more frequently than my other Maranta. Again, just give it a top up. Okay. And the last Maranta that I have is the Silver Band. Okay. So again, another one that has been doing quite well. It's got 3 new shoots of growth just coming up here. So I'm quite excited to watch this one fill in. Another one that I don't know if you'll be able to see, but is quite thirsty. So it does need topping up quite regularly. So we'll just, I think that's going to be the last of the water, I think, in this one. Okay. And that's her. Like I say, oh, there's actually 4 bits of new growth. So yeah, I think she's quite enjoying it in semi-hydro. So we have got a few crispy bits, but that's just where I haven't been running my humidifiers as regularly as I probably should. But you know, I don't mind too much. So she seems to be doing well aside from the crispy tips. And the last one is my Calathea orbifolia. Now, she is a thirsty girl. I am topping this one up constantly, and I mean, she is empty at the moment. But yeah, this is the best I've been able to keep one of these. She has pushed out quite a bit of new growth since going into semi-hydro. I mean, I'm just waiting for the leaves to size up. I think this one is the most recent one that she has put out. So yeah, I can't wait to see how she continues to grow. Another one that is sending roots out the bottom. So yeah, I think she's quite happy in this substrate. So I'm just going to make up some more water so that we can top her up, and then we'll look to get these plants back on the shelf and close out this video. that is everything for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Let me know if you grow many plants in semi-hydro or pond, however you guys reference it, and how you found transitioning plants and sort of their progress since being in the new substrate. Once again, I will link both the pond that I use and the self-watering pots down in the description box below if you guys wanted to check them out. They're not affiliate links, so I don't get anything at all from them. It's just there for, if you guys are exploring different options and different ways of growing your plants. I found it very helpful when people were linking stuff down so that I could find them and do my own research into what was being used. And like I say, what works for me might not work for you guys, but let me know if you do decide to give it a go, or if you've got any tips to help my plants thrive better in their new setups. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did like the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more planty content. I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.